I don't know how long it's going to be, but a lot of us are going to end up in the care of what's being raised as Gen Z children now. And so let's restructure what it's like to live in a nursing home before it's too late.
Yes.
So what does Mr. Husband, Father, Engineer have to say about this whole topic?
I have some thoughts. I'll let Chad continue.
Here's the thing. I think that a good test for me to try a thought experiment about what it means to have good character. One of the things that scared me, I was thinking about was, if I'm in a nursing home, would it be ethical to, let's say I'm in a nursing home in Canada, would it be ethical to participate in maids? Or would it be a person of good character, though suffering, live through the rest of their life while in that nursing home? Or take the maid's route? And so that to me is like, and I've really thought about that, because like it could be legal, right? And it could be ethically right to do that. And
the only people that are going to be able to have a job in Canada in healthcare are the ones that are going to be comfortable with the fact that people get assisted in suicide,
right,
in the place you work.
To be, I think, a good thought experiment. Do I have good character? Hopefully, I will have enough courage to suffer through until the end, because I've made for suffering. I mean, I've done it most of my life, like Grizz was talking about. You know, like I've had real traumas and real things like this, and it's like, why do I keep trying to run away from them? You know, and so anyways,
well,
pass.
Before we let Gavin give the thing Shane asked for, I got this comment out here from Ansel Man. It says, I think it helps to look beyond to a much better life in eternity that puts suffering here in perspective. And I don't know that to look to something I can't imagine is the way to go, because I don't even know what that's like. But I do know that I've only ever suffered for a day at a time. And
Well,
that, like, eventually, I'm restored to the sweet bliss of at least unconsciousness, if not the dream world. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's close enough to a dream afterlife for me to put more investment to when I'm here with skin in the game. Dudes!
Grizz, you said it, man. We need to figure out a way to change the nursing home now, because we're going to go there later. And so an afterlife, when I think of an afterlife, even if I find it difficult to imagine some sort of whatever, heaven or some other realm beyond, what I do here now matters in the afterlife. I may not be present in the afterlife, but somebody's grandkids and somebody's kids will be. And so that's afterlife. That's after my life.
And now, for what Gavin was been waiting to say.
Sorry.
We drive by a place like this, and I've asked my wife, I've talked about it, it's like, I think if I end up in a place like that, I'd like to play video games. And so I'm wondering, well, when will people want to play video games in these places? And I'm wondering, like, you know, when should someone try to go and, you know, be tech support and provide computers and video games and go play games with these elderly people? Yeah, that's kind of the question I've talked to my wife about. And then I've also talked about, you know, retirement communities outside of the United States, like where you could maybe, you know, use cannabis and psilocybin, and you could, you don't have to follow the laws of the United States, and so you could really try to provide a nice place for these people. And because
I've
it's
heard
like
playing Wii, by the way.
What's that?
Yeah, Wii bowling, at least I remember.
Yeah, like Wii bowling and stuff like that. I've heard that the retirement homes are just popping with it.
My children like Wii.
I hear retirement homes are also popping with venereal disease.
I've heard that too.
Josh, what do you got on any of this?
I remember hearing in grade school, it's probably in social studies. Remember that class? I don't know if they have social studies classes anymore, but about cultures that would put the old people in an iceberg, that they'd go on voluntary and float away. It always made me sick. I could just never get with that. It just seems so. I don't care what narrative I was being told about how well it was. They all recognized this was for the best. It just made me think of that. Like I never got with that. So yeah, this idea of like ethically, the ethics of, for economic reasons, I'm too much of a burden and therefore maids. I'm not with that. I'm not with that.
I'm pretty sure my father has said many times that he would go visit Niagara Falls or something and take a fall if he ever became a burden on anyone. That's his fear, is he'll be a burden on someone. And that's kind of I think that's part of my ancestry, like people not wanting to be a burden and being willing to go sit in a chair and die while watching their garden instead of going to a hospital and trying to survive as long as possible and cling to life.
I can relate to not wanting to feel like a burden very much. I can relate to that. The idea of everyone being in cahoots and going, yeah, let's structure things so that's convenient to
Logan's Run, I grew up with.
There's a difference between pushing someone into Niagara Falls versus allowing them to jump.
Teo, welcome aboard. What you got?
On the talk of making babies and populating the world, I think I'm more with Grizz in terms of the structure that I've been born into. It's not one that's conducive for, that I've not found it to be conducive for existence. And yeah, but at the same time, Anselman's comment earlier about thinking of a place that's so perfect you can't even imagine it as like a motivation for here. I think that's right, but it's not an easy thing to do because you can't imagine it.
I can imagine it. Me and Chad were imagining it the other day, and we were saying, who'd want to stay there?
What did you imagine?
Well, you could live in a place where you are immortal and you don't feel any pain or suffering. And then, I'd said maybe you spend your time dancing and singing and playing. It's like, I think eventually you'd want to hop back into a place like this just to have the challenge and experience some pain and suffering.
I think it was Chad mentioned earlier about doing the work now for later. I think we'll be building what we're building now is going to affect what the role that we participate in later. And I think this existence serves as a good LARP for the reality that's truly to come.
And the dancing and singing, you do that in celebration of things that are overcome. And if there's nothing to overcome, then what are you going to dance and sing about?
How great it feels to be alive some mornings. William Tarbush in the chat says, I think of how much art I stopped partaking in because the artists killed themselves. Robin Williams, that guy, that lady. I personally don't think that guy did do it himself. So, but it's an interesting policy to be like, I can't consume your art anymore once you've been disgraced. Dahlia, right? That's Dahlia.
That one's Rigsby.
Oh, sorry, I got your dogs wrong.
Hey, this is the newest guy.
Rigsby.
Rigsby.
Where do they all come from, man? Grail Country with maybe I'll just need lower expectations. Work is sucking right now, but in 6 hours there will be D&D and spaghetti. And right now I get to listen to you all while redacting, while shoving things down the memory hole. Right, it's I don't know, the capacity to find the joy and the love in whatever moment life puts you in is a superpower any of us can perhaps wield, and Grail Country is apparently good at it.
It helps if you were raised around people expressing love. If you have never met love, it's like trying to explain being cold to someone who's just lived on the equator their whole life. It's like if you've never experienced love, it's kind of hard to bring that into existence at any moment.
Yeah, that first draft thing. We didn't value how good our first draft was until it was too late.
Well, my buddy, one of my best friends, I just talked to him. I haven't talked to him for a while, but we were in high school and together, and his father was very abusive and stuff. And he's one of these guys that had a really rough upbringing, but he turned out like really great. And he actually attributes this to his really rough upbringing, and like being an example of what not to be. And so some of that's interesting to me. I bet you my neighbors think I'm a weirdo. I actually never come out here in my mask. This is really weird. I just realized.
Fine.
We have an accusation of a hyperbolic deception. That I guess that there's old stories of people on a glacier, because it happens today in Vietnam and any place where it comes between feeding the children or like feeding myself or letting the children eat.
All right, so that's another way of saying like easy for me to be offended by it in a way, and fair enough. Yeah. I'm not in dire straits, so it's hard for me to imagine the necessity of making a hard choice. Yeah, still makes me sick.
But it's not the culture accounting for it, and it's like it's not because the kids, they're not doing it for the kids. You're not getting it made for the kids. It's because I can't deal with my own suffering. The loneliness is too intense. The first one I saw, and it was back in Twitter, but they've executed a lady in Canada for COVID loneliness during the lockdowns under this MAID policy, because it's just now extending to questionable things like minors and mentally ill, that everybody's making a big deal about it. The medically assisted thing has been around.
Yeah, they just updated the laws on that, I think, this month.
Our entire field of modern social science is predicated on the work of Weber, but like more so, Durkheim used as his metric for healthy, when he was looking at division of labor, but he was looking at healthy economies and healthy societies, like suicide rates were his metric. Where are we? This is so upside down. What the hell?
Maybe it's the logical conclusion of what happens when you lose perspective on what is good. And it's easy to, like Grim was saying, if you grow up without, or Gavin was saying, if you grow up without love, then you won't know what love is. And maybe so that happens in very small degrees over a long period of time, and eventually the ship gets turned just 1 degree, and then 200 miles later, it seems like it's going in the wrong direction completely. And so in order to know that, you kind of have to go off track. So maybe it's a logical conclusion. I've said this before. I don't think that we have the willpower or the cognitive juices or anything. I don't care how intellectual we are, to turn the ship around with our own power. And that's been so long.
But we have the ChatGPT now.
Yeah,
we're not under our own power anymore. We have a super tool. If it does get easy to get tokens, I sense that that guy has said we should use it as a wisdom or a reasoning engine. I've decided that what I'd like to do is run my theory about ancient aliens and what I think the world is, and see if it can reason me out of my own wrong think as a challenge. But that's the future to come. Meanwhile, gentlemen, it comes to the time of the episode with Grim where I say, I got so many things that I scroll through now.
Do you have anything you want to say in conclusion?
And we'll start with Chad. Chad.
Yes, have children. Also, don't let China get a hold of us, because what happens when ChatGTP 0.5 starts to do our social credit scoring, we're all screwed because they have all of our data. Bye.
That's true. It's true. It's true. And now, Josh.
No, not today. I have a lot to think about.
All right. Are you gonna do some more of that Pale Fire reading on your channel, or?
Yeah. Kanto 2. I haven't uploaded it yet because I thought my head looked funny.
It might, but we're doing it because of your voice in the poem, not because your head. So go ahead. Sorry, Gavin.
No, I don't have anything to say.
All right, be good to each other, because Gavin didn't think to say that. Teo, you got anything?
Yeah, be aware of Moloch, because that's the engine driving all of this.
That was not big enough. Lobster monkey goose.